gonna try. You think you're gonna break and you think you're gonna die. Get off the dirt and listen to the crowd screaming your name.
Check that out, guys. Nice walleye fishing out here in Green Bay, Wisconsin. We're out here with Max Wilson today, doing some walleye fishing, and we're doing some sharpshooting. So we're kind of just going over flats, going over humps, and we're trying to target specific fish. And we're able to hook up with this beautiful golden one right here. Hey guys, Jason here with Piscifun. Today I'm in Green Bay, Wisconsin, and I'm out here with NWT Pro Max Wilson. Max, thank you for having us out today. I appreciate it. So Max, tell the folks a little bit about what you're doing. What series did you fish this year? You fished several series actually. So
yeah, by year's end, when it's all said and done, I will have done 23 tournaments this year.
Wow.
It started out on the Columbia River out in Washington State this year, and it's going to end over on the Rutland Water Reservoir over in England here in a couple weeks. So fish, everywhere in between. Did the Cabela's National Walleye Tour. That was a big one that I fished. The Cabela's Master Walleye Circuit. We traveled all over for that one. And then the AIM Weekend Walleye Series was another one that I did with my mom this year. And then we did a couple local events as well.
Wow, so you are definitely a busy guy.
Yeah, it started in February. First tournament was mid to end February. And I've had a tournament, either tournament or drill for the Marine Corps every single weekend since then. So I have not had a free weekend since February.
So I don't know if you guys heard that. That's another little interesting fact. So Max is a crazy talented angler, and he has a ton of passion for the sport. And it's one of the reasons that I actually asked him about a year ago to join the Piscifun team, because to see someone with so much passion and so much drive for something, I had this craving to have him to work with us. But I don't know if you heard what he just said, that he's also a Marine. So not only does this guy fish 20 plus tournaments a year, and he's also in the Marines. So for me, thank you for your service, Max. I appreciate the heck out of the fact that you're a Marine, and I think that's just amazing. So we're gonna go out and we're gonna do some fishing here, guys, and we're gonna talk to you a little bit more about the techniques and exactly why Max Wilson chooses Piscifun and what reels he actually likes to use and that he used on the Pro Tour this year. Stay tuned.
Yeah, I've really been relying real heavily on the Honor HR30 this year. It's a really great reel, super smooth, and a super well adjustable drag. It's very just micro adjustments, really dial in your drag, especially when I'm fighting these fish. I really want the drag to be dialed in perfectly. I like to use both the back reel and the drag when fighting really big fish. I like a mixture of both, so to have them dialed in perfect has been really, really great for getting these big fish in the boat. But one of the techniques I've been using with the HR30 this year, I do a lot of casting cranks and pitching jigs, especially in a little bit deeper water, long cast. You want to rip those baits in, so have a faster reel, get it in real fast. It's been pretty great for me. That story I told earlier about getting the ice in it and everything, it can handle all conditions. That's what really impressed me, because a lot of times I'm fishing in the snow, it's getting beat, it's getting dropped, and these reels have held up really great for me. So the durability on these are unbelievable. I mean, if I can make them last the whole entire season, then they're pretty much indestructible, because I'm good at breaking stuff. And if I can get this to last for me, that's what I look for as a professional angler, is something that will last on me and won't fail on me when I need it most. So that's been a really great reel. The other reel that I've been using is that new Carbon X. This thing is a piece of artwork that Jason helped design. This thing is super smooth. That 6:2 gear ratio is really great for reeling in those big fish. One of the techniques I like to use, I like to pair it with a medium action rod, and then I like to shiver with it. Out on Green Bay, shivering, sharpshooting is one of the big techniques. We drive over, we'll mark these fish, cast back to them real quick, and you work these fish, and if you don't catch them, you move on. In this deeper water, it's really important to have a little bit of a faster reel, because when I'm ripping these shiver minnows, my hook set is off my snap, and when I get that snap and I set the hook, I gotta reel down on this fish real quick, and I gotta keep up to it. And you gotta kind of reel a little bit faster than you normally would with these big fish, because you got to keep them pinned. You don't want them thrashing their head, because they'll throw the hook really easily. So you want to kind of be able to burn that fish in, and that faster gear ratio has really been helpful for it. And it's smooth as silk. I mean, it's absolutely blown me away. And this combination between the rod and the reel is super light. To be able to handle this all day, especially on the Spring Valley this year, when we're vertical jigging for 8, 9, 10 hours a day, when you're sitting here like this, over and over doing this motion, it's really important about the fatigue on your body, being able to have that in the strike zone, the perfect form every single time. You want to be consistent. You don't want to have sloppy jigging cadence. So have a lightest possible gear. Super important, and it's really been paramount to our success this season. So if you guys are really looking to up your game this year, I would really recommend going to the Piscifun.com and looking up the Honor and the Carbon X. Both have been great reels for us and really changed how I fished and really helped me succeed this year. I mean, it's really been paramount to our success this year, and all my success this year couldn't be done without the help of Piscifun.
So Max, obviously, as you can see, there's a couple of trophies there sitting next to you. So you had a pretty darn good season. You and I were having lunch just a little bit earlier, and you started kind of telling me what was going through your mind on that last day of the National Walleye Tour Championship this year on Lake of the Woods. And I'd really like for you to just tell the folks at home kind of, as you started your day, what was going through your mind, and then talk us through that last-minute decision that ended up helping you lock that win in.
That whole tournament was just a series of decisions at the right time. I knew going into that, you needed to get your over each day. And that was such a tough task to get because I only got 3 overs the whole entire practice. In this tournament, you could only have 5 fish weigh, and only one could be over 28, and then the other ones had to be between 14 and 9. It couldn't be over 19 and a half. If it touched 19 and a half, had to go back. So you had to have the right fish at the right time in the right place, and that was the really big trick of it all. And we only had 3 overs in all of practice, and they all came 15 minutes apart. Overs, and both days my over came in the last 10 minutes of the day.
Wow.
Day 1, I ran about 15 miles back, only about 4 miles from the boat launch, and I got lucky and caught my over with about 10 minutes left in the day. And day 2, same thing. I'm at my farther away spot on really good marks. Caught some really close fish, but not the right fish, and I made the decision to run back down where I got my over on day 1. And we get down there, and I hated the marks, just didn't like it, didn't feel good about it. So with 45 minutes left, I probably made the gutsiest decision I've ever made in a tournament. And I decided to run 15 miles away from the boat launch with 45 minutes left in the day.
Wow, that is a very gutsy decision.
Very, and I've learned in this sport you just have to trust your gut. And my gut hasn't let me down this year, like I was telling you earlier.
Yeah.
And so I just decided to trust my gut. And so we hauled up there, and within 5 minutes we hooked into our over. I decided to gamble, and I changed things up on day 3 of the national championship.
Kind of made a strategic move right there at that.
It was we were either gonna win it or not. We were gonna finish 10th. The lowest I could finish at that point was 10th, and 2nd through 10th would have been okay, but you don't get many chances to win.
Sure, you had to make that decision to try to chase first.
And we lost a really, really big fish. I messed up and didn't loosen my drag like how I had been for all my fish, because we had to let those fish run with the bait when they hit it, reposition it, and then I'd reel down on them.
Okay.
I didn't loosen the drag, and it was a big, big fish. I mean, I would probably put money down that it was also an over.
That is a heartbreaker on the last day of tournament, knowing that you got all this on the line and here you lose a big fish.
And I didn't have much time for it to get me down because I didn't even get the rod reset, and I look over and my rod it tapped once and it just doubled in half, and I grabbed the rod, I let it run, and I grabbed the rod, and I looked at my co-angler, I said, shut off the kicker, reel yours in, because this is it, this is the fish. I knew right away, and we actually hooked that fish at 7:45, and we landed it at 8:15. It took me a half hour
battle with that fish.
And I'll tell you what, that was the hardest, most nerve-wracking battle I've ever had with a walleye.
I can imagine.
We got it in, and when we landed it, I mean, they heard me 2 miles away. I let out a scream so loud. Everyone knew I had an over because I just let out a scream, because this thing was a giant. I mean, the back on that was like that thick.
Wow.
So I was ecstatic, and I picked everything up. I took a minute to collect myself because I'm shaking at this point.
Of course.
And the cameraman's watching me from Blosser's boat. He was right next to me, and I'm just like, I'm trying not to have a heart attack. And because at this point I knew we had a chance. At this point, I knew we got the hardest part out of the way, and now we were gonna go for the fish that I knew we could get. I'm like, oh my gosh,
So at that moment, the potential for a win became real for you.
Yeah, it went up, and I'm like, no, get back down, just in case. Let's not get the hopes up just yet, And then when Blosser came up, I saw his bag, and I'm like, oh gosh, those are nicer unders than I thought they were, And him being Blosser, he made me wait. You can see it on screen. He's sitting there staring at me, holding the bag, and I'm like, at this point I'm about to faint. I'm about to pass out. And he noticed that. He goes, Max, you're looking a little green. I'm like, you gonna throw up? I go, I might. Hurry up, And finally he ended my suffering and put it on there. And when it dropped, he needed 11 something. When it dropped below 11, the amount of emotions that flowed through me, and I still get emotional to this day talking about it, because anyone who's followed my journey throughout my career knows just how tough it's been. And you know, I've faced a lot of adversity since day one, and to win it, that was the most emotional I could be. I mean, and you know, and I'll telling the story, I'll probably tear up again, but
that's all right, man. It's a big deal.
My grandpa growing up was my hero, and I never told anyone this story on stage. I couldn't at the time, but my grandpa was my hero. You know, and I told you I talked about it.
Yep.
I lost him the day I left for boot camp. I said goodbye to him. It was the last time I saw him, and he told me that he was proud of me and that he was always going to be looking over me. And I told him I was going to win a big one for him, because he was there when I fished my first NWT Championship as a co, and I finished 9th. I was 6th going out, and I told him I was going to win one for him. And he said, I know you will. And he said, I'm going to look out for you. And I remember walking out of his hospice room, leaving for boot camp, knowing that was the last time I was ever going to see him. And I lost it, because he was my hero, and I collapsed, and I'm sitting there up against the wall, just mad at the world, and I look up, and there's a poem, and it was titled "The Dragonfly," and it's about these colony grubs or whatever that live in the bottom of a pond, and every once in a while, one of their friends would go up to the lily pad stalk, and they never see him again. They always wondered, you know, where are you going? What's going on there? And so they all agreed next one to go up and come back down and tell him what happened. Well, next thing you know, one of them was going up, and he comes up and he falls asleep on top of the lily pad because it's so warm. And he wakes up and he's transformed into a beautiful dragonfly. And he could see his friends down there, and he was flying over him trying to go tell him, you know, he's okay, you know, what he transformed into. And then he realized no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't make it down there, and even if he could, they'd never recognize who he was, because he's such a beautiful creature. And it ends with, just because we can't see our loved ones after the transformation we call death doesn't mean they're not here with us. And that really resonated with our family. You know, that was kind of a calming poem for us, you know,
put you guys at peace a little bit.
And it's amazing how many times throughout our whole entire family's life, coincidence maybe, but how many times dragonflies popped up. You know, I was actually out here on Green Bay a year to the date after his death, and I was having kind of a hard time. I was out by myself, and had a dragonfly landing on my shoulder, and 6 miles out in the middle of Green Bay. You know, I mean, it's crazy. So it shows up when you need it most, and this is 100% on my grandfather's grave, 100% truth. When I caught that 30, I'm kid you not, I had a dragonfly land on my shoulder while I was putting the boat away.
So he was there with you.
I lost it, you know, and I saw it. I was like, it's happening today, you know, like we have to do it, you know, and when just having him there, you know, and to win that for him, and
you know what Max just said is huge for all you guys out there that you go fishing and, you know, you go out and you don't catch anything on this day. You know, you got to keep working at it, and it just goes to show that even when you're having terrible finishes throughout a season, and you just keep grinding and keep fighting and keep working, and all of a sudden, boom! And if you see the trophy over there, Max, can you hold that up for the camera? Actually, you guys see this beautiful trophy over here? That is what happens when you persevere, when you work hard. That's the National Walleye Tour Pro Championship. So make sure that you work hard when you're on the water. If you're having tough days, just keep grinding it out. And then we didn't even talk about this one. As you see these 2 trophies pop out. So then very shortly thereafter, Max didn't even have time to celebrate.
Nope.
He goes on from the National Walleye Tour Championship, and he goes over to fish NWC in his last tournament in NWC for the year. And then he locks in Team of the Year in that series. So talk about an absolutely phenomenal year for a very humble, talented, and pro angler like Max. And again, Max, thank you for talking to us today. I appreciate you telling the story, and I really appreciate you sharing the story about your grandfather.
Yep.
I think it's awesome that you share that with us, and I personally believe from what you said that he was definitely there and he was watching over you make that win. So. Well, Max, I appreciate you coming out and talking to us a little bit about your season and kind of how everything unfolded. It sounds like it was a fairly dramatic season. But now, dude, I think it's time to start talking and time to start doing some catching. So let's go catch some fish.
I'm ready. Being this close to the water for this long, I'm starting to get itchy. So they're there, they're calling my name, I can hear them, so let's go get some fish.
All right, let's do it.
As always,
Thanks for watching. Please hit that subscribe button and follow us on Instagram and Facebook.